Hello everyone, and welcome to this podcast voice thingy. Today's not really a podcast, it's more an introduction to the podcast that I'm going to be starting, and I just wanted to do this introduction so that you guys, first of all, know who I am before, we dive blindly in, and what I'll be talking about in this podcast, the inspiration, that kind of thing. So, first of all, to introduce myself, my name's Megan, and I'm 20, and I'm a massive Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts fan, like massive. I currently do a drama degree, and I also write stuff. I've just had a piece performed at Camden. I've just had, last year I had a piece of writing published in the University Anthology. So, I also write, and I'm known for writing Fantastic Beasts fan fiction, and for my Tumblr blog, which anyone who's in the fandom on Tumblr may or may not know, which is Newt Loves Tina. So I just wanted to sort of say hello to you all, make sure that, you guys don't wonder who the hell this strange person talking on this channel is. A little bit more background. I'm a Gryffindor with a smidge of Hufflepuff, and I'm also a Thunderbird. So yeah, and on this podcast series, I'm going to be talking about Harry Potter things, Fantastic Beasts things, and just anything to do with J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World. So I could talk about something that connects the Fantastic Beasts and Harry Potter series. I could talk about theories. I could talk about characters, There's also going to be a couple of personal ones, like how I got into the series and, the transferring from Harry Potter to Fantastic Beasts and, that kind of thing. And there is going to be a very personal one, but I'm not going to dive straight into that one because it is a very, very serious podcast, and I want us to have a bit of fun before we go into the really depressing stuff and get serious. And yeah, that was intentional, me saying serious. So yeah, this podcast, which is going to be called Magical Megan, is going to hopefully be once a week, up until the release of Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. It may continue afterwards. I don't know yet. We'll have to see how it goes. But that's my hope for it, is that I can, have one podcast a week at least up until the release of Crimes of Grindelwald, and then, we'll see what happens. And as I said, I just wanted to say hello to everyone. I just want to give a shout out to the other podcasts that have inspired me to start this podcast. So first of all, there is a Typical Beasties, which is a fan-run podcast started by a friend of mine, and if you search it on YouTube, I'm sure you can find it. I actually guest starred on an episode where we spoke about fandom and stuff, and I don't want to feel I'm stealing her idea, so I just want to give her a shout out because, I love her podcast, and I think it's a great idea because it's run by teens, and it's sort of, I feel like Fantastic Beasts is sometimes a bit dominated by adults, so it's nice to have a podcast that has the teenage perspective and the younger people perspective. So shout out to her. If you haven't checked out her podcast already, I highly recommend you do. The other two podcasts I just want to briefly mention are Dan Fogler's podcast, because, he does podcasts a lot, and I'm very inspired by the fact he does that. I think that's very cool. And then there's SpeakBeasty, which is a very popular Wizarding World podcast. So shout out to them, because their podcasts have also inspired me to start my own podcast. Another reason I've decided to start doing podcasts is because originally I was going to be doing blogs, but then, I'm not very confident with myself, so doing it on a podcast kind of allows me the chance to have a voice and to discuss things while also not showing my face on camera, which is preferable because I'm not very confident within myself. So yeah, that's kind of just the background on this podcast. Hopefully there'll be an episode coming out soon. I haven't quite decided what that's going to be on yet. But if you guys have any ideas for stuff you'd like to see covered in this podcast, topics you'd like to hear, or even if you would like to guest star on this podcast and have a chat, be part of the podcast, you can just email me. Well, not email, but you can message me on my Tumblr, which is Newt Loves Tina, on my Instagram, which is Porpentina Queen, and Megcy_Walsh. I will leave the links to those in the description. I will leave the description to all my social media in the description, but if you want to guest star, then you know, I'm totally 100% up for that. I love to talk to new people. I don't bite, I promise. So yeah, just if you guys want to have your own voice and you want to maybe, you know, guest star, then just let me know. And you know, I prefer to record it over Skype because I'm more familiar with Skype, and I'm not quite sure how else we could do it. But yeah, if you guys want to guest star, then just let me know. Other than that, I just wanted to say hi to you all, and I hope you guys are doing well, and I can't wait to see what the future of this podcast brings.